I always felt like there might have been a small alien base hidden there, or at least that the location made communication much easier. Anyway, we started our walk, chatting like we always do. Hello everyone. Usually, I write about experiences that I haven't lived through in real life, such as things that come to me while I meditate. However, this specific event actually happened to me years ago, back when I was about 12 years old. Disclaimer, I honestly don't know if this person was just a deeply unsettling human, an alien, or some kind of spirit. At the time, we were living in a small town in Greece surrounded by mountains. Ever since I was young, I felt a strange connection to spirits, aliens, and paranormal things. Nothing crazy, but I always found hearing about them absolutely fascinating. One evening in September, around 6:00 p.m., my grandma, my mom, and I decided to go for a walk along a road that leads up into the mountains. In Greece, these types of mountain roads are full of nature lined with dense trees, the sounds of insects, and if you walk far enough, you'll pass local farmers tending to their animals. Eventually, the path opens up to a beautiful view overlooking the entire town. It's a favorite spot for local hikers, but it's definitely not a famous or touristy place. For years, locals have shared folklore about this area, whispering stories about fairies and other strange entities living in the woods. I wouldn't call the place haunted, but even as a kid, I could always feel a strange energy there. It's hard to explain, but years later, when I started meditating and trying to communicate with extraterrestrial consciousness, I always felt like there might have been a small alien base hidden there, or at least that the location made communication much easier. Anyway, we started our walk, chatting like we always do. We crossed paths with a few neighbors, and everything seemed perfectly normal. But as we walked deeper along the trail, the surroundings grew completely quiet, and we found ourselves entirely alone. Since we had lived there our whole lives, this didn't scare us at all. Then, the atmosphere shifted. We started hearing the heavy footsteps of large dogs heading our way. We immediately felt a wave of fear because the dogs in this rural area aren't small, friendly pets. They are massive, aggressive guard dogs that farmers use to protect their sheep. The trail was narrow, meaning we only had two options: keep moving forward past them, or turn around and head straight home. As we stood there debating what to do, a man emerged from the shadows, holding not one, but three of these massive dogs. He was about 1.80 m tall, thin, with dark brown eyes and dark hair, wearing a very large, heavy coat. Physically, there was nothing overtly monstrous about him, but the entire situation immediately felt incredibly wrong. My grandmother, who isn't exactly the calmest person, stopped a short distance away. She was close enough to speak to him, so she raised her voice, asking him to pull the dogs tightly to his side, so we could safely pass by. We didn't get an answer. He didn't even look up at us. This was incredibly bizarre for our area. It's a tiny town where everyone knows everyone. Even if he was just a visitor or a tourist, you would expect a basic human reaction. After a few minutes of trying to talk to him nicely and receiving absolute silence, my grandma lost her patience. She started yelling at him and using some harsh language. Not the best reaction, I know, but she was terrified. Despite the screaming, the man kept his eyes completely glued to the ground. His gaze was just frozen there. He wasn't wearing headphones, and he clearly wasn't deaf, yet it was as if we didn't exist. He didn't blink, look up, or show a single trace of emotion. His face was entirely blank and stone cold. He was physically standing right in front of us, but mentally, it felt like he wasn't there at all. I know it might just sound like he was being incredibly rude, or was an extreme introvert, but his behavior was completely robotic. Even the most introverted person on earth would flinch or look up if an old woman was screaming at them and a child was loudly crying from fear. But he didn't care. He just kept walking slowly toward us with that completely blank, expressionless face. Terrified and realizing we had no other choice, we turned around and practically ran all the way home. To this day, my family still talks about this encounter. I'm not definitively saying he was an alien or a spirit, but it remains one of the most unsettling, uncanny experiences of my life.